Sonic echo that leaves no room for doubt. All the shots bring it back to what it's not. Make a move, do we do? As the world cries tears in our hands, are we all part of a bigger plan? All the shots bring it back to what it's not. Deepest oceans, they can't betray enough. Empty spaces, time to rust and dust. There's no wonder left for us to love. No warmth or shelter, just satellites above. All the shots bring it back to what it's not. Make a move, do we do? As the world cries tears in our hands, are we all part of a bigger plan? All the shots bring it back to what it's
It is the dawn of a new day, and with that, the dawn of a new series. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Touring Car Series, brought to you by World of Sim Racing, and welcome to RaceSpotTV. My name is Nola Rempel, and I'll have Peter McKay joining me in just a short order here up in the broadcast booth with Hugo Louise down behind the cameras for tonight's presentation. It is, of course, a brand new series, and one that everybody is going to be thrilled to see, as 47 touring cars get set to dice their way around the historic Silverstone circuit for not one, not two, but 3 sprint races on the day. It's round number 1 out of a 12 race season running from January all the way around to April. We started off in Europe with Silverstone, Circuit de Barcelona, before jumping back over to the UK at Brands Hatch. And we take our first swing down to South America for Interlagos. It's back to Donington Park. Red Bull Ring wraps out the first half of the season with Barber, Sebring, Hungaroring, Mid-Ohio, another Silverstone race, this time at the National layout. We're at the GP layout tonight, and finally finishing it off at the historic Daytona International Speedway Road Course on April the 28th. It is going to be an intense round for us here tonight as we get set to open this race up. And of course, with this opening, we got to show you guys what it's like to take a run around the Silverstone.
Hello everybody, I'm Paul Smith from Team Mad, and welcome along to the first ever round of the World Touring Car Series, and where better to start this championship than right here at the home of British motorsport, Silverstone. The 3.6 mile Grand Prix layout is the version that we'll be using for this historic opening round, so why don't you come and join me for a lap of the circuit. So here we are then, as I said, 3.6 mile circuit. Get myself ready for the start of this lap. Important to carry your speed out of Club Corner, because you're going to carry that speed all the way down the start and finish straight. You'll go up to 5th gear down here. You can see the speed up on the dashboard, nearly 200 kilometers an hour in towards the first corner at Abbey, and then straight away left at Farm. Get it over to the left, onto the brakes. That's going to be one of your overtaking spots right there. Now into the loop. Slow left-hander. Watch the application of your power there, because you can push wide. Watch the inside curb there. If you cut that too much, you get an off-track penalty at Aintree. So now down the Wellington straight we go. Keep it over to the right-hand side. Onto the brakes, nice and light for Brooklands. Let the back end help you turn around the corner with the brakes. Now, some people like to hug the inside of that corner. I like to just V it out a little bit here at Luffield, using the curb on the outside. You'll then have liberal use of the inside of Woodcote Hughes here like that. All about trying to get the shortest distance as possible that you can get away with. Copse Corner, fast right-hander. Carry the speed through there again. Don't run too far wide there, or else you get an off-track penalty as well. Over to the right-hand side for Maggots, and then some of the most famous corners in the world, Beckett. Watch the inside of that right-hander. You'll get an off-track penalty for cutting the corner. Left. This right-hander, it's important to carry the speed, because you're carrying the speed all the way down through Chapel onto the Hangar Straight. This is just about letting the car just gently go across track. Get it over to the left-hand side for Stowe. And then you're going to go down 3 gears. 5th, 4th, 3rd. Hit the apex. Don't go too far early. Don't go too early on the throttle, should I say, or else you'll end up running out wide. Into the Vale. Slow it right down. 2nd gear in this Hyundai. And then Club Corner. Again, watching your power application. And go through your gears, hit your apex, look at your dashboard, and see you've done a 2:16. So there you go. That's a lap of Silverstone, the Grand Prix layout. Later on in the season, we will be taking on the national layout of Silverstone. Expect to see plenty of action around here. There's plenty of opportunities for people to slipstream and to overtake around here. And you might even see 1 or 2 surprise results in today's races.
Welcome back, and thank you very much to our own Paul Smith for that wonderful guide around the Silverstone circuit, and I think I shall use some of those tips for my next trip around, so thank you very much for that, Paul. This is a brand new series, the World Touring Car Series, and we have some stars from the real and the virtual world in Tin Top Motorsport, and we're about to go live for the first race of a packed season. 3 20-minute races for you this evening. And Nolan, with our format, it's going to be a real cracker.
Oh, it absolutely will. I mean, with just 20-minute sprint races, and then you got 47 cars all packed into one tight track at once. And on top of that, there are touring cars, which, as anybody knows, is some of the most exciting racing you can possibly get on the iRacing service when it comes to the road racing side of things. We are in for one heck of a show tonight, and I can't wait to see what we're in for.
Neither can I, and I feel underdressed in you and your jacket and tie, Nolan. I'm very impressed. Very impressed indeed as well. But here at the home of British Motorsport, you would get into the British Racing Drivers Club who own and run the circuit. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be allowed in without a tie on. So you're officially dressed for Silverstone.
I'm dressed for the role, as some might say.
Very true, very true. And of course, we've got for this championship as well, it's not just 3 20-minute races in the same order. We've got the infamous spinny wheel, which is a kind of carryover from the World GT Championship, which will have partially reversed grids for race 2 and 3, and that should really jumble it up very nicely indeed. But your thoughts heading into this first race of the championship?
Buckle up, hold on to your hats, and hold on tight, because it is going to be an absolute barnstormer of an opening race, as anybody that has raced Silverstone and touring cars combined will know. Combined it with our field size, and you know it's going to be non-stop action from lights out to checkout.
That's right. Well, we'll have the qualifying grid for you now. Corentin Guinez on pole position from his teammate Kieran Harrison, with Carl Janssen making it a course of racing 1, 2, 3. Wojciech Sawidowicz will start from 4th with Josh Thompson and Ross McFarlane on row 3. Row 4 will be Ash Sutton and Dave Baker, with Jamie Rushforth and Jack Sedgwick on the 5th row, with row 6 being Dan Holland and Oscar Mangan. Row 7 will be Fraser Smith and Alex Neller, followed by Jaroslav Kibula, Michael Polashek, Daniel Rowbottom and Neil Butler rounding out row 9. Row 10 will be Michael Levdoka and Mikael Garcia, followed by James Corp, Ollie Peacock, Mark Fletcher and Jake Blackwell round out the 12th row. Dan Camish will start from 25th, with Ashley Beard in 26th, followed by Andy Shield, Craig Williams, Bruno Carnero, Rafael Durasaz rounding out the top 30. Benjamin Gregory will start from the 31st place, with Danny Lee alongside him. Tom Dadswell will start 33rd, followed by Dean Powell, Simon Field and Elliot Roberts. Paul King and Lee Burridge will be on row 19, followed by Dan Murray, Adam Hedgecock, Matt Button and Dan Robbins on row 21. And finally, John Roberts, Daniele Guidici, Darren Doherty and Robert Lundgren round out our 46 car pack. Well, there they are then. A course in racing 1, 2, 3, and they're wound right back round the final corner, ready to go racing for the first of 3 20-minute sprints here at Silverstone. Mostly Hyundais in this field, and we are off. We are racing here in the World Touring Car Series for the very first time. Down towards turn 1 they go, jostling for position, but it's a course in racing 1, 2, the new Hyundai Elantras. Getting a proper getaway here into the opening loop section. They'll try and get through. It's very tight through this opening section here at Silverstone. Nolan not able to get into too much argy-bargy, but in touring car standards, all very polite.
And one car does go off the grass in turn 4. Ross McFarlane goes off. He comes back on and manages to rejoin with no incidents. What a blazing start from Josh Thompson from the 5th position. Pushed it 4 wide into turn number 1 and managed to just make a stick, put the 51 car up into 3rd place. As you look back at the other drivers within the top 10, everybody's still scrambling left and right. That's more contact, and Dan Holland is sent wide by one of the Full Send Racing TCRs through the middle of Luffield.
Oh, it's awfully busy there at the back. There's side-to-side contact. One of the full send Hondas there getting the elbows out as well. But it's Corentin Guinez who leads away to ride on board with Mark Fletcher in the Hyundai Elantra. And this is touring car racing at its finest here. All very much cobbled together as they head down towards the Maggots, Beckett's Chapel complex. You can see the Team Dynamics machine of Dan Rowbottom there. I wonder we'll need a swear jar for saying Team Dynamics Honda, because that's a Team Dynamics Hyundai, not a Honda. So that'll be definitely keep an eye out for that one. Nerf there from the number 23. That was Ollie Peacock getting into... I didn't see who that was, who he got into the side of there, Nolan.
Believe it was potentially one of the Full Send Racing TCRs, as they were 3 abreast with Daniel Rowbottom in the middle, down and towards Stowe, and the 32 car puts himself another couple of spots. Michael Evdaka still looking to have to go defense against Mark Fletcher, trying to make a lunge up into the final chicane, and this is where all gets tight on board with Evdaka now still side by side with Fletcher throughout that final club chicane, and as they exit out down onto the Hamilton straight, leading the opening lap of the World Touring Car Series will of course be Corentin Guinness.
The Frenchman Corentin Guinness, champion of the SRW TCR series, with Kieran Harrison champion in the ARL TC. 1 and 2 at the moment. They're hot off a victory in the 24H series. 6 hours of the Red Bull Ring on Sunday, driving together but racing against each other this time. It's a different dynamic altogether for that crew as well. But Josh the Bosch Thompson for Williams Esports, the mighty Manxman, is up into 3rd spot, racing for Knight Rider Motorsports here, normally of the Williams parish. But it appears, Nolan, that of course now, in previous times, they're used to just having the Audi TCR machine, but of course 2 brand new machines to the class, the Hyundai Elantra and the Honda Civic Type R. But it seems that these Hyundais, the Korean machines, are very much the preferred vehicle at this point.
And understandable why. I mean, it is currently Hyundai running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 throughout the field, and that is looking like it might continue, especially with Core running 1st, 2nd, and 4th at the time being, with Josh Thompson currently breaking up a Core potential 1, 2, 3. So that 1, 2 continues to rocket away, and you'll look to Josh Thompson now as he's trying to keep Carl Jensen in behind to that number 92 Hyundai Elantra, and he's also trying to keep the likes of Ashley Sutton and Swerdowski just behind as well in his number 80 car as they thunder down the hangar straight for the 2nd time today. And with only 20 minutes on the clock, it's not expected to be too long of a race in terms of lap counters, right? I mean, expected under 10 full laps of racing for this opening round. And luckily for us, though, we've got 2 of them that are still going to be coming on the course later tonight.
Yeah, we're going to have a night of packed action here in the opening round of the World Touring Car Series, brought to you by the good folks at Craig's Setup Shop and Freem as well. Now, you spot in 5th position, number 44, Ash Sutton, triple British Touring Car champion in the outdoor racing world, of course the owner of Pure Sims as well. There he is in a brand new livery, Napa Auto Parts, of course a name that's very familiar over your side of the Atlantic, Nolan, but here in the UK it's not quite as well known. But both him and Dan Camish are going to be in the Napa Auto Parts team for the British Touring Car Championship this season, and great to see Ash up there fighting in the top 5.
And looking to potentially make that a podium drive as well in the opening race, as he is continuing to try to close up to Carl Jensen and Josh Thompson to continue to duke it out amongst themselves for the 3rd position. But so far, no changes being made throughout the top 5. Everybody's looking to settle it down here, and I don't think we're going to be seeing a whole lot of, shall we say, really out there action all the way until we get to those closing 2 laps, those last 5 minutes or so of the race. For the time being, you're going to take the door if you see it open, but other than that, you're not going to really force the issue, or it's not like you're going to be pushing it 3 wide up in a Stowe, right?
Quite right, yes. Looking at Neil Butler, Major's Garage, FSR Audi, using the more old school machine here in the Audi, in the TCR class. We've had the Audi RS3 on the iRacing service for a couple of years now. But the very popular arrival of the Hyundai Elantra NTCR and the Honda Civic Type R just a month or so ago has been a real boost to this category. And what a field we've got, 46 drivers. We are missing 1 or 2. We will have a full field size of about 51 cars. Unfortunately, we're missing our very own Paul Smith after his wonderful lap guide, and also our very own Tyler Maxon, of course, who drives for the Hyundai team for Brian Herder Autosport in this very car in the 2022 Michelin Pilot Challenge. His season will get kicked off next week at Daytona. So very exciting. Now, Wojciech Sawidowicz, a multiple ARLTC champion, he is in 6th position at the moment, but has the fastest lap of the race. There he is in the white, red and black machine for Semper Racing. So a change of team from the Apex Racing team, but right behind Ash Sutton, someone who he'll know well. He's raced against Ash in the virtual world a lot. And they come over past the Modern Wing Complex. Josh Thompson says, I think I'll have that fastest lap all to myself. Now, the question here is, Nolan, can Josh Thompson bridge the gap to the two core cars at the front? Because they are on it.
It was about a quarter of a second faster than the Core 1-2 all of that last lap, so he could potentially have a serious drive up on them by the end of the race, become tucking with the draft. For now, Kieran Harrison and Quentin Guinness, they have both been working big time just to work as a team here, right? They've been looking to potentially do a little bit of bump drafting down these straights wherever they can to get themselves that extra little boost up to the rev limiter in the highest gear. And you have to wonder, though, how long it'll be before the core teammates start battling amongst themselves, because at the end of the day, in a touring car race like this, everybody wants to go for a race win. So how long will Harrison continue to provide that rear gunner support to the 333?
Well, we shall see. Carl Janssen, the Super Swede, in fourth. Of course, Carl actually drives a Hyundai N i30N on the roads, so familiar with hot Hyundais is Carl in their fourth position, with Ash Sutton in the lovely shade of blue Napa Auto Parts machine there in fifth. Now, the first of the Hondas is Jack Cedric. He's in seventh position right now. You can just see him there with the red bonnet. There he is, number 10. Jack Cedric, a top level sim racer, racing for Craig's Setup Shop in a very jazzy machine. The red, green and blue, and Craig's lovely face on the side of it as well, of course. And if you're wanting to get go quicker on iRacing, one of the best ways to do that is to have your car set up just so, and go onto Craig's Setup Shop and have a look there and browse their setups that they have for every track in every car, and you can use that same setup that Jack's using on that Honda, and clearly it's working because he's very much on his own. It's quarter panel job. Alex Neller gets nerfed out the way and lucky to hang on to it.
Great save there from Alex Neller, and that is, of course, one of the huge advantages about these touring cars being front-wheel drive. In order to save that, you don't need to do any fancy wheel work. People will always say, all you got to do is just mash the throttle and the car will do the work itself, and Neller did a beautiful job to get that car under control. Carl Jensen now going to go with the fastest lap of the race with the 2:13.663. That is, of course, the fourth place driver, right in behind Josh Thompson, who was continuing to close the leaders as we ride on board with one of the full send racing cars. This is, I believe, Michael Polasek down into turn number 2 over at Village, trying to close on up to Oscar Manjan just up the road.
So Michael Polasek there in one of the Audis, number 45, for Major's Garage Full Send Racing. Now, I think he might well be the... no, he is not. The top Audi at the moment is Jamie Rushforth in the number 3 car in the AM class. And, well up the road, right, mixing it with the pros. There he is in the SimLab machine. Pure Sims accelerated by SimLab. Fantastic stuff there from Jamie Rushforth. Last time by a 2:14.5, his best a 2:14.1, comparable to a race leader, Corentin Guinness, who at the moment, Nolan, is really controlling this well with his teammate right on his back bumper.
But you have to wonder, right, for how long, because Josh Thompson has continued to close in the gap slowly but surely. It was 0.4 faster for Thompson the last time by, and now you can see the top 4 all within a second of each other and all under a blanket. That Core 1-2 is now under some serious threat from that 51 Hyundai Elantra thundering down the hangar straight for the 5th time up towards Stowe. And you have to wonder, will Josh Thompson dare to make a daring move down the inside on one of these sharper corners now that we are in that second half of this opening race with 9 minutes to go?
Well, forgive me for using this analogy, but Josh Thompson is right in the core of this leading battle amongst the 3 core sim racing machines. Guinness from Harrison and Janssen right there as well, with the fastest lap of the race to his benefit. And Thompson is looking very racy indeed. Let's see what the lap times are here, because Thompson's made a real reduction in the gap. The lap times 2:14.2 for Guinness, 2:14.1 for Harrison, 2:14.0 for Thompson and Janssen. So the pace at the front is hot, but we know that Kieran Harrison, particularly in second place there, such a wise driver, very calculated and very consistent. He's very tough to beat over the distance of a race season. And That is such an important key. Of course, Cornty Guinness and Kieran Harrison raced together as well in the digital Nürburgring Langstrecken series with much success. And here comes Harrison. He's going to have a little look here into Brooklands. Now, can he get the move done through Luffield as well? Guinness has got the preferable inside line. Is he going to be able to shut out his teammate? Head down towards Woodcote. It's side by side. Josh Thompson said, oh dear, where do I pick here as they fly past the British Racing Drivers Club on the right hand side there as well. Guinness is hugging the inside. Now, according to Christian Horner, you're not supposed to overtake at this corner. But there you go. Guinness defends. And here comes Thompson now. Here comes Thompson on the run towards Baggett's, Beckett's and Chapel. It was really tough complex, and indeed, has Thompson been able to seal the move up? Not just yet. Oh, he shows a nose. Harrison just has a bit of a wiggle and goes wide. Oh, and this has allowed Guinness to escape. So look at that, Nolan. Just in that tiny exchange, Guinness has got a critical 3 or 4 car length advantage.
And that is real the likes of Ashley Sutton right into the mix. That 44 car now looking to punch his ticket up into the podium positions as Carl Jensen looking for the inside up into Stowe. Will he try to send one down the inside? Josh Thompson, he's going to commit to him, and here comes Sutton powering around the outside line of the number 92, going to get squeezed out on the left-hand side, but Sutton still has the nose and is deeper on the brakes into the club chicane. But I think Carl Jensen will just be able to hold that position. Sutton going for the switchback just in behind as Josh Thompson starts to pull with the third place, and they've been caught at once, twice behind as Sutton gets bustled out towards the pit wall.
Oh, Sutton getting into a little bit of argy-bargy there with Janssen. We know that Ash Sutton is one of the hardest racers in the world. He can, if there's even just the slightest gap, he will go for it. He's certainly a little bit more calculated in the last 2 years, and that's yielded 2 championships in a row in the British Touring Car Championship. But a little bit of door-to-door action there with Janssen, and Janssen did well to hang on to it. But that has freed the group up a little bit. Guinness and Harrison still, Thompson right there behind, and now Ash Sutton up into 4th position as Janssen drops back.
So Jensen losing now on the top 5. Going to have to try to fight hard to get that back. Coming up to 5 minutes to go in just a few seconds, and all over the back end of the number 80 car, coming around through Brooklands and Luffield. Jensen's also got Jack Sedgwick as well as David Baker that is under fire from behind as well. So it is no longer just Hyundais in this top group, and you've got one Honda Civic also in the mix, and Jack Sedgwick is looking to potentially put that Honda into the top 5 for the opening round.
Yeah, I tell you what, Jack Sedgwick's doing a good job here as the only Honda anywhere near the front of the pack in that Craig setup shop machine. We always do see Jack is usually likes to take a little bit of an alternative look on car choice. Normally doesn't follow the crowd. Of course, races in the World GT Championship. He had a super drive at Detroit, I remember, from the last season in the World GT Championship in a Ferrari, when most of the top of the field was in Porsches, BMWs, stuff like that. But likes to just go a little bit against the grain, and we like that. We like a little bit of variety. But Suridovic, we haven't said much about him, but he's always there. Thereabouts is the Polish driver. Has to go very defensive on the run down towards Stone. Janssen leans on the quarter panel. You've got to be very careful doing that. And Suridovic toughs it out, holds the inside line into the club chicane here. And is Sutton able to bridge the gap? Well, maybe, but one thing's for sure, Nolan, he is pulling away in that Napa machine away from the chasing pack behind him.
It helps with the likes of Jack Sedgwick trying to look at the inside of Carl Jensen and slowing all 4 of those guys up, really costing them significant time in their bid to try to go for a race win in their own right for the opening round of the World Touring Car Series. Sedgwick, though, pushing really wide through 2, and that's going to have to put him on defense up into Village as David Baker tried to go for an over-under. Now going to try to once again cross him over to 3 and 4, but the Honda covering off the line, and David Baker's going to have to wait a little bit longer. Might be able to try something up into Brooklands down the Wellington straight if he wants to try to make up that position and go up into P7 of this opening race. Decides to back off, though. The Pure Sims driver being nice and patient and picking his battles wisely.
Very wise indeed. Well, let's take a look from a replay then. Bruno Carnero. Oh, whoa! What a great day. Puro Bruno there in the number 20 car. Oh, hard into the barrier. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That's That's what we call being nerfed. Running along quite the thing, and then all of a sudden clipped by another car, and that was the end of that. Good thing is, though, in this championship, having 2 other races in the evening with partially reversed grids, it does help you to stay in the game as well. And those that win the championship, usually it's all about how they do in the second and third races rather than just in the first race, which is of course set by qualifying order. Therefore, you'll see the fastest drivers up the front in race 1, but it's how they fare getting through the field in race 2 and 3 and staying out of trouble that's really, really important. Love the look of this number 23 Honda Civic of Ollie Peacock, the Intel graphics. That's very retro British touring car, kind of almost like a Volvo 850 wagon, actually. Very cool. I like that a lot. I thought it was, is it Swirlovich? No, it's his teammate there having a look up the inside, but Guinness still leads then, as Janssen now going in on Swirlovich. Oh, very late in the brakes, but he gets it done. A tough move, Nolan, but fair.
So Swirlovich is going to be dropping now outside of the top 5. That puts Carl Jensen up into 5th place, and this is, I believe, going to be the final lap of this first opening race, as we are under 2 minutes to go and lap times are around 2:14. So if there's ever a chance for guys like Josh Thompson or Harrison to go for a race win, they got to make it on this lap.
They do. Yep, they do, absolutely. So now or never then for Wojciech Swirlovich. Carl Jansen here battling over 5th position. Sutton's got probably enough breathing space there in 4th. In fact, he is really on the charge, chasing down Guinness, Harrison and Thompson. Last time by a 2:14.6 for Ash Sutton in that Napa Hyundai. But still, it's Guinness and Harrison. Now it's 1-2, but it's not been quite so straightforward. And what has Josh Thompson got up his sleeve there in the 51 car, the blue and pink machine? You know that Josh will have a go. We know he's a hard racer, a man from the Isle of Man. And he's, of course, coming off a big win in the Porsche Cup category of the 24H Series in the 6 Hours of Red Bull Ring on Sunday, just a few days ago. Of course, these virtual racers, Nolan, they're so busy. There's competition on all the time, particularly at this time of year. And Josh, he's one of the busiest in the business.
And right now, see if he can put all of that skills he's been building up with being so busy to work here as we enter through the final couple of complexes now. 30 seconds on the clock, and I don't think he's going to make it back in time. If Tom's going to try anything, it'd have to be up in the Stowe. Same news for Kieran Harrison, as now Guinness starts to wriggle around a little bit, trying to break that draft up towards Stowe for the final time in race 1.
Here they come then, last chance for Kieran Harrison if he wants to make a move on his teammate. We know he'll be pretty calculated. Quite possibly these drivers will be connected by voice communication as well, so they can coordinate themselves, but no. Harrison just holding station for now. The checkered flag is waving. Who is it going to greet? It looks like it's going to be Corentin Guinness, who's going to be your first winner of the season here in the World Touring Car Series. He flashes the lights. Corentin Guinness wins for Corsim Racing. A 1-2. Is it just? Kieran Harrison in second. Josh Thompson rounding out the podium. Ash Sutton, a great start to the season in 4th. Carl Jansen coming home in 5th. Wojciech Swirlovich in 6th. Cedric 7th. Baker 8th. McFarlane 9th. Rushworth in 10th. Winning the AN class. Jamie Rushworth in the first of the Audis. Woof. Well, if that is anything to go by, Nolan, I think we're going to be in for a cracker this season.
I have to say, that race, I think, shall we say, it was very civilized, considering it was a touring car race. I mean, there was not a whole lot of actual contact, almost no actual spins. That might change, though, when we swap the grids around for races 2 and 3 in just a couple of moments here, right? Because as we know from not just the World GT Championship, but also other series, we look at the Ivor Club Cup, right? Reverse grids create one prime thing, and that is absolute havoc. Especially, it gets worse the further back you decide to reverse the grid, right? So the fact that we're going to be deciding that is going to make it rather interesting. Now, it is, of course, important to note as well that only drivers that are on the lead lap were eligible for that, and well, all but one were on the lead lap. So if that lands on that very crucial logo, full reverse grid with 46 starting in first.
Right, let's see then, what is the reverse going to be? Round it goes. I feel like we should play the countdown music at this point. And 18? Is it going to be 18?
I might get 22.
Oh, it's close. Oh, 22.
Just.
Partial reverse. So that means, I think that will be Jake Blackhall who will be on pole position for the second race of the evening. So there we are. Our spinny wheel brought to you by Craig's Setup Shop and Free M. Your winner then of the first race of this World Touring Car Series, Corentin Guinez for Corsim Racing, leading a 1-2 for that outfit with Kieran Harrison right behind him. Josh Thompson rounds out the podium in third, Ash Sutton fourth, with Carl Janssen rounding out the top five. Wojciech Srawidowicz was sixth, followed by Jack Sedgwick, David Baker and Ross McFarlane. And in the overall top 10 in the Audi, in the AM class, Jamie Rushworth, what a drive. Oscar Mangan finished in 11th, followed by Fraser Smith, Michael Polishek, Dan Holland, Jaroslaw Kibula, Neil Butler, Alex Naylor, Michael Evdoka, Miko Garcia and Ollie Peacock rounds out the top 20. Mark Fletcher was 21st, followed by Jake Blackhall, Craig Williams, Ashley Beard, Daniel Rowbottom, the Halfords Honda star in a Hyundai, get used to that one, and his BTCC colleague, Dan Camish, who'll be racing for Napa Racing in the 2022 BTCC. Andy Shield was 27th, followed by Elliot Roberts, Danny Lee, and Rafal Dresajic. Ben Gregory was 31st, followed by Tom Dadswell, James Corp, Matt Bunn, Lee Burridge, Paul Smith. I said that Paul wasn't taking part. He is. My apologies. 36th place for our very own Paul Smith. Simon Field was 37th, followed by Adam Hedgecock, Paul King, and John Roberts rounds out the top 40. Daniele Guidici was 41st, followed by Dean Powell, Dan Robbins, Robert Lundgren, Darren Docherty, Dan Murray, and Bruno Carnero rounds out our 47 car field. Well, Nolan, we get our breath back and we'll be heading into another race. 20 minutes, 22 car reverse, about half the field. Now we're going to see what this series is all about.
And I have a feeling that it's not going to be as clean of a start this next time around as it was the first time, right? I mean, obviously, race one, we can expect that to be the cleanest of the three because it is set based on just the sole qualifying order that was taken from a 20-minute qualifying session just a little while prior to that race going lights out. Race two, though, there's some pros and cons. On the pro side, you now know what a race is going to look like once everything gets settled out. But you're also going to be starting significantly further back and behind some drivers that might be a little bit slower. I mean, look at the guy that is starting on pole position, finished 17 seconds behind the race leader, and that was in just about 9 laps or so. So that does go to show that there's a pretty significant time spread when it comes actually around to race pace. That means he was about a second or so slower, just under that every single lap. So the fact that we're going to be having 22nd on first and first and 22nd, you know it's going to create something massive on that opening lap.
I think so. And what I love about Silverstone is, especially with this, the new section that was brought up, well, we always say it's a new section, but it came in 2010. Can you believe it? But 12 years ago, still think of it as the new section for such a historic place at Silverstone. But that opening section opens up a lot of overtaking opportunities. It's a big, wide open Grand Prix circuit. There's loads of chances to make moves. Down into Brooklands is a very good one, with all the people in the British Racing Drivers Club watching with their glass of champagne and their crumpets and whatever they have up there. There's, of course, Rory Butcher made a great move on Tom Ingram there in the British Touring Car Championship in 2021. So I think in these, like you said, the race pace difference is going to give us a lot more overtaking in this second race, but we weren't short of it in race one either.
And you mentioned the opening section opened up a lot of overtaking opportunities. The fact that it's, well, new-ish at this point in time. It really is almost exclusive to touring cars in that, right? Because honestly, you look at single-seater racing, F1, F2, F3, all those types of series. The overtaking opportunities throughout that section from Village on down to Brooklyn still remain somewhat limited because of the dirty air that those cars generate. Not so much for these touring cars, and particularly when you look at Village all the way up through Aintree. The opportunities for switchbacks in the touring cars are just so high through that entire section. It's almost like it was designed with some of these slower club cars in mind, and it can genuinely create some of the most exciting touring car races that you can ever see. And we already saw a taste of that for race one, but that was just when the drivers were getting warmed up. Now we're going to see, like you said, what this series is really going to bring forth for races 2 and 3.
Yeah, that's what the World Touring Car Series is all about, is that those reverse grids. It's not how you perform in race 1. That helps, but it's the race 2 and 3 results that really add up over such a long season, and I can't wait till we really get into it as well. Of course, Silverstone, home to the British MotoGP, the Motorcycle Grand Prix Championship, and that's another one where, like you mentioned, that run up from Aintree to Brooklands always a good opportunity for a dive on the brakes. I think we'll see that with these touring cars here as well. And I tell you what, Nolan, we've seen the Audi RS3 for a long time. It's been a staple of the series, but I have to say, I love this variety of the Hyundais in there, the Hondas in there. This is what touring car racing should be. There should be a variety, because the whole point of touring car racing is you should be able to cheer on for the car that your mum and dad drive. That's when you're watching. You got to attach yourself to one.
I have to be honest, I was a little bit more surprised that there weren't more Audis further up the field. Now, I haven't done a whole lot of touring car racing myself. I've done hot laps plenty of times, but I haven't actually raced them a whole lot in an actual race setting. So I wonder if the Hyundais are really just that much quicker around a facility like this, because the fact that there were so many of them out there, and we even saw a few Hondas up there as well, but there was a surprising lack of Audi presence throughout the entire top 10. There was not a single one throughout all of that. You also barely saw any throughout the entirety of the top half of the field, really. So I'm just curious about what might have contributed to that. I think maybe drivers just might be a bit more confident with cars of the Hyundai and the Honda.
It's an interesting one, because of course the Hyundai and the Honda are the two new cars, but definitely the Hyundai appears to be preferred. And I always think whatever the fast guys are going with, and if they're going more or less exclusively with one car, you know that it's the quickest, because the one thing about the fast guys is they usually put in the most amount of laps in practice. It's usually a direct correlation. So it appears that the Hyundai is right for now, but of course this is a long season. It stretches over the next couple of months, in which point we'll have various iRacing updates, and it can flip all the way around. Remember, this is a balance of performance category, and it could be that the Hyundais get taken back and then the Audis come to the fore, or the Hondas come to the fore. We shall see, but it's good to see Jack Sedgwick up there representing the Japanese mark. Of course, very big thing. Honda versus Hyundai, Japan versus Korea, very important indeed. But I tell you what, is Hyundai 10 years ago, Nolan, used to be it wasn't a performance orientated brand, but what they've done even in the last 5 years with their N division, with their racing cars, their rally cars, the road cars are fantastic. They've changed the game.
They really have. I mean, Hyundai have shown such a massive presence in the motorsport world even more recently. They've been trying to get more and more kind of out there as well, and I think apart from the touring car races, obviously, I think their achievements in the WRC, the World Rally Championship, cannot be underestimated. I mean, they have been a serious fighting force against Toyota for the last few years in there as well. And obviously, you look at rally racing and touring car racing, two very, very different disciplines, but the cars honestly don't look too dissimilar from each other. Obviously, you're going to have the rally cars that have higher suspensions. They're going to have firmer suspensions at that. They're going to have, bigger wings to help them navigate the corners on the dirt roads. And obviously the tires are going to be a completely different breed. But the fact that they have been showing so much of a presence throughout the motorsport world and have been trying to kind of improve even more in that regard it is amazing to see, and you love to see different car brands dipping their toes into the water, and I can't wait to see if they'll be able to potentially expand to even further groups, potentially even further down the line.
Well, there's always a rumor of them looking at the sports car world and the endurance racing world, maybe an LMDH prototype. That would be very cool. So Hyundai N Motorsport, if you're watching or listening, that would be cool if that would be nice. Again, a huge thank you to our sponsors for the World Touring Car Series. Craig's Setup Shop, first of all. If you want to go quicker in iRacing, usually a good way to do that is having your car absolutely dialed in. Of course, the iRacing simulator effectively replicates a lot of the adjustments you could make on the real world car. And like you hear drivers talking about, they're liking the car or they're not liking a car, chasing a setup. Save yourself that time. Go onto Craig's Setup Shop website and get yourself the right setup for your car and for the track that you need. Also, when you're racing hard on the iRacing simulator, it can get pretty hot and sweaty. Well, no need to worry about that with Free M. 3M, one of our series backers, who produce fantastic racing equipment and racing clothing, not only for karting, for real world racing, fireproof suits, boots, gloves, but even do specific sim racing equipment as well. The sim racing gloves last year, for viewers of the World GT Championship, they'll remember Paul doing his best Michael Jackson impression with the 3M sim gloves with the showing it all, and they've even got little parts on the fingers which allow you to use your smartphone, so you don't need to take your gloves off to answer a text message in between races. So check out our partners, Craig Setup Shop and 3M as well. 4 minutes to go in our practice session before we go on into race number 2. Plenty of time for the drivers to refuel, to reset and get back to it.
I have a feeling a lot of drivers are going to be taking those precious last 4 minutes of warm-up very, very seriously. A lot of them are going to be trying to put down at least 1 or 2 more times. Just make sure that, you know, during the very brief stint you're off the track, you still haven't missed any of the braking points. Because as anybody that hasn't been in the car for a little while can tell you, it can, even if you hop out of the car for just a few minutes, it can sometimes take a lap or two to kind of get back right into the rhythm of things, which is why having warm-up sessions like these is very, very helpful for drivers, and it also obviously allows adequate time for everybody to ensure that they are actually in the session. But with every minute that passes by, we get closer and closer to seeing what the reverse grid races will show us. And with the World GT Championship always being as chaotic as those races can be, you have to wonder, will the touring car series produce more excitement than that, less, or right about the same?
Now, I have an apology to make, Nolan. I've just had a look at our in-race messaging, and Hyundai factory driver Tyler Maxon, our very own Tyler Maxon, has given me a row for the pronunciation. I've been saying Hyundai, which is, of course, a very British way to pronounce it. So I'm very sorry, Tyler. I'm so sorry. Hyundai. I need to get into the Hyundai. Hyundai like Sunday to get into that habit. So Tyler, why are you watching and not driving? That's what I want to know. We want to see you mixing it up there at the front, of course, fresh off a brilliant drive in the Dubai 24. You can see I'm flattering him now, Nolan, to try and deviate from the fact I've been pronouncing his employer's name wrong.
It is a bit of an interesting one when you have somebody that actually races touring cars in the real world. You know, obviously commenting on this sort of thing in the sim, while you'd think they would be racing as well. And I do find it interesting because, fun fact, I didn't even know Tyler Maxon raced touring cars until last year, so that was news to me. But it is a bit of a cool little aspect of that, and I have to ask, would Tyler potentially know why there's a surprising lack of Audi representation up in the top 20 tonight? We'll have to see if he'll get back to us on that one as well.
I think he'll probably reply because the Hyundai is the superior vehicle. I mean, he is paid to say that, so
yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, I think that's a fair reason. So we'll get that one lined up as well. But Tyler is entered for the championship, so not available to race tonight, but you'll see him later on in the season. As our drivers are, well, they're not hanging about. This might be a warm-up session, but no. 2-minute 14.5 from David Baker in the warm-up, getting ready for the second race of the night. 20 minutes again, but remember, a partly reverse grid. We had our spinny wheel earlier and a 22 car reverse, so the cars finishing 22nd will start from pole, 21st from second, and so on all the way down. Now the thing is, Nolan, is if you finish 23rd in that scenario, it is absolutely gutting.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have to kind of feel, because you know you were that close to landing up on pole. Now, there is some minor consolation if you're starting further down the grid. I talked about how these races can create a whole lot of carnage. Well, as anybody will say, and even as our own Paul Smith will definitely mention, no driver really complains when there's a big pile-up on the opening lap, because, hey, that could be an easy 5, 10, potentially 12, 15 free spots gained right there, and that could easily see you now with a much better chance of being able to make that reverse grid for race 3 as well.
Yes, exactly. Nobody complains about a pile-up that they weren't caught up in. They certainly do if they were caught up in it. So let's hope there's none of that. But of course, there is a few pinch points in the early laps. In the early corners of the opening lap for these drivers as well. When the cars are on cold tires as well, you've got to just keep just that little bit of an extra eye on things as well. Well, there you go. Practice ticks over, and we're about to go racing for the second time here in the World Touring Car Series, brought to you by Craig's Setup Shop and Free M here at the home of British motorsport, Silverstone. Former World War II airfield. They've been racing here since the early 1950s. It's a super facility, absolutely state-of-the-art, and very accessible as well. I have to say, I actually went to the British MotoGP this year in a wheelchair, and I can assure you it is very, very good for that. Jake Blackhall will start on pole position alongside Mark Fletcher, with Ollie Peacock and Mikel Garcia on row 2. Michael Avdoka and Alex Neller round out your third row. Neil Butler and Jaroslav Kubula were row 4, with Dan Holland and Michael Polishek rounding out the top 10. Fraser Smith will start from 11th, with Oscar Mangan in 12th. Jamie Rushforth will start 13th, with Ross McFarlane in 14th. David Baker will be 15th, followed by Jack Sedgwick, Wojciech Sawidowicz and Carl Janssen, with the two Corsom Racing's Kieran Harrison and Kieran Harrison and Corentin Guinez rounding out the up to 22nd. We're racing then. Off we go for the second round of the World Touring Car Series. And through they go into the opening section. Hyundai's galore. Oh, I've done it already. Now let's see who makes the early moves going on. The 111 machine there going for the lead. That 111 machine driven by Mark Fletcher has to give best again. Oh, here comes one of the full send cars. That's Ollie Peacock in the full send Honda. But the leader is Jake Blackhall in the number 97 for now, as they pound down towards Brooklands for the first time, jostling for position. But it's Blackhall from Fletcher from Peacock for now. There's a couple of Audis in there as well. Nice to see them represented. Oh, as they head through towards Luffield for the first time.
3 full-send race cars under a blanket, and one of them is Michael Polishek being given a shot by Ross McFarlane just in behind. And in response, the 167 of Fraser Smith muscles McFarlane out towards the left-hand side on the exit of Luffield and through Woodcote. McFarlane still trapped on the long way around through Stowe, or through Copse, excuse me, and now could be muscled off the track as well, as Fraser Smith holds on to that position for the time being, just outside of the top 10, trying to make a run potentially on Michael Polishek, his full send racing teammate, but it's just going to get tucked in line right in time before they hit the apex of Maggots, and as they throw the way through Beckett's as well as the Chapel Complex. Looks to be relatively clean start overall throughout the field.
Yeah, very good indeed, actually, for just as we say that, a little bit of puffs of smoke. Let's get a look and see who's involved here. Oh, a little bit of side-to-side argy-bargy there. Oh, it's our very own Paul Smith gets sandwiched. Oh, dear. Oh, my word, it's a train wreck.
I stand corrected, a big one then coming down the Wellington Straight. That was at least 7 cars that were getting turned around sideways there.
Oh, dear. Oh, well, that is, yeah, that, like you said, a multi-car pile-up there, Nolan. And poor old Paul Smith, his race is over really before it got going, but took a lot of cars with it. We'll try and get an update on that as we progress. But it's Blackhall from Fletcher, from Evdoka, from Peacock as well. So it's Hyundai from Hyundai to Audi to Honda. The 111 Hyundai there of Mark Fletcher shutting the door on Michael Evdoka in the Pure Sims machine, number 989 in the Audi. Deciding to stick to what he knows, the old Audi RS3 TCR. So 17 minutes to go as we're on to the second lap of the race. They head towards Brooklands for the second time. And Blackhall going very much defensive as well. Fletcher looks to the outside, but he's lost it on the way in. Oh, that's going to lose him a lot of time.
Don't come back on the track right there. You're going to cut off Jaroslav Kubula as well. And the 39 car just cutting the 111 a break to let him back in line. That has now allowed the top 5 to all break away with a huge margin, as Neil Butler now has to battle it out for 7th place with Kubula, with a probably wounded Mark Fletcher, at least on the tire side, right up the front. Tires no doubt overheated. The Trip was going to have to do everything to get them calmed down. You ride on board with Ross McFarlane in his Pure Sims 127, 3 wide, out of Copse, down towards Maggots, and Beckett's. Kubula going to be making the move as Fletcher drops down 2, and now almost contact as Neil Butler just pokes his way ahead in the Maggots and Beckett's complex.
Oh, it's very spicy there. It's one of the full send Audis. Has a big wiggle, but Ross McFarlane makes his way through in the Pure Sims machine. We know how good a driver Ross is. Former ARLTC champion. Is one of the full send Hondas going a little bit wide there. I think it might be Mikel Garcia as they head through. Oh, more carnage here as well. James Corp for Majors Carnage by FSR Honda off at the same place where, down the straight that we saw action earlier on. So, a little bit of archie-barchie, a little bit more touring car-esque as we've seen. So, let's get a look at what happened to James Corp then. Coming out towards Chapel, down towards the hangar straight as well. Oh, you can hear the crash in the background. And just hits the quarter panel there of the Craig setup shop Honda. And they both get taken along for the ride.
It's hard to really get off of him, isn't it, when you're on a front-wheel drive car like this? Because obviously the guy in front of you is just mashing the throttle, trying to get the car spun around back in the right direction. But both drivers did a good job to keep that off of the wall. As you'll look back up to the P7 full ascent driver now coming around through Aintree. Now looking a little bit further back to the MDS machine of Dan Holland and trying to keep Josh Thompson at bay. Finished third place for Thompson in race number 1. He's been slowly trying to pick his way through after starting 20th place in race number 2. And just in behind, there's Polasek up the inside of Corentin Guinness, the race 1 winner, who was still trying to slice his way through as well. Guinness was not having any of it though and forced Michael Polasek to back off.
Yeah, Corentin Guinness has got up from 22nd to 14th, but fellow frontrunners from race 1, they've made good progress too. Carl Jansen's in 10th, Ash Sutton in 11th place at the moment, and making very good progress indeed is the Napa Hyundai driver. Evdoka leads the race, and with the fastest lap of the race, a 2:14.7 last time by for Michael Evdoka in the Audi RS3. Brilliant stuff. Leads by 1.5 seconds from the AM trio of Ollie Peacock, then Alex Neller, then Jake Blackhall as well. So Evdoka looking good in the Pro class as the very almost Bumblebee painted Turn Motorsport Hyundais there, looking very cool. They're sandwiching the 17th place machine of Kieran Harrison at the moment. Of Wojciech Suridzic, excuse me. Now, that's a question. Kieran Harrison is showing in 43rd position. He's been into the pit, so I think this is maybe a bit more of a post-mortem of what we saw earlier on. Kieran Harrison, Paul King, Jack Sedgwick, Tom Dadswell and Dan Camish, all of which have been into the pits, and Dan Camish still in the pits, and all victims of that earlier incident.
It's such a shame, and of course there were a few more bits of argy-bargy moments coming all the way around through that opening lap, but we're still seeing them developing here as the Napa Motorsports machine going to go 3 wide outside line. Is this going to work out? Is Ashley Sutton trying to find a way through? A lot of smoke up the road as I think Blackhall had a bit of a slide and almost caught between himself and Carl Jensen as Ashley Sutton forced the inside through Aintree and down the Wellington straight. They hip check again, but now Ashley Sutton with no drafting help down the Wellington straight, gonna have to tuck in line behind the 92 before they can get to Brooklands, and now more drivers looking aggressive as Sutton once again throws it up the inside of Jensen. I'll try to fight the long way though around the outside of Luffield. The full send race machine of Fraser Smith cutting off the 92, and there is nothing that Sutton can do to get past Jensen.
So 12 minutes to go then in the second race of the day here at Silverstone in the World Touring Car Series, brought to you by Craig Setup Shop and 3M. It's Michael Evdoka that leads the way from Simon Neller and starting to bridge a gap, trying to build a gap at the moment, but in 5th place, Ross McFarlane is the man on the move. Of course, former champion touring car driver. We know how quick he is. Winner, of course, of the World GTE Championship too. Really super driver, and a fellow Scotsman as well, Nolan, which of course I'm completely impartial.
Marvelous long train of touring cars all the way down the hangar straight. Ashley Sutton once again looking to make the move, but Fraser Smith bump drafting with Carl Jensen. And how about that for a big entry, arcing it in with Ashley Sutton to try to get the run of the 92, but Ashley Sutton missing the apex didn't end up working out at all for Ashley Sutton. He does make one up on Fraser Smith, and they're still looking to go side by side. You heard the content as well, just behind between Holland and Mark Fletcher, which is also getting a bit more physical out of the club chicane. So down the Hamilton straight once again. They see another content behind, and once again Holland getting shoved out to the inside, and Fletcher having to do everything he can to try to let drivers through while off pace, and now gonna give up spots to Thompson as well as Guinez as we continue to watch these battles develop. And this is where it's all going to get a little bit more intense. You can tell something has got to give, and there it is. A full set machine going around. Neil Butler collecting, as well as Craig Williams, and I believe got into row bottom as well.
Tell you what, Corrington Guinez, the winner in race 1, is really in the eye of the storm here, and this is the tricky part about this form of racing with the reverse grids and touring cars. Is contact is very much part of the game and really tricky to avoid. We saw, of course, Corrington Guinez's teammate Kieran Harrison falling by the wayside, and Guinez is really in survival here at the moment. In 12th place, Josh Thompson just ahead in 11th. There they go, just going past the camera at the moment, but McFarlane's made up another place. He is the man on the move at the moment, the man from Scotland, 2.7 seconds back from the leader, and at the pace he's showing at the moment, well, he could be in place to make up a few more spots, but at the moment it's Michael Avdoka still leads the way in the number 989 car by 1.8 seconds is the gap, with 9 minutes and 20 seconds to go. So we've only just gone past halfway, Nolan, so wonderful. Maybe see things settle down a little bit as everyone now settles into their pace.
I wouldn't be so sure about that one. I mean, you and I both know together that touring car racers, they don't know what calm down means. It's not in their vocabulary.
It's a very wise and correct point. Yes, that's true. If you're a touring car racer, you do love a bit of the archie-barchie, that's for sure. That's what it's all about. And of course, we've got a number of familiar names here in this championship from the world of British touring car. Of course, Ash Sutton at the moment he's sitting in 8th position. We've got Dan Camish, of course, the Porsche Carrera Cup champion in the UK in 2021, but of course formerly of the Honda Team Dynamics crew, multiple race winner in the series, and will return to the British Touring Car Championship this year for the Motorbase team with the Napa sponsorship, and will be teammate to Ash Sutton. That's why they're running in the same colours in this championship as well. And McFarlane, Nolan, he's up again, up into 3rd position. 2.1 seconds now the gap.
And with that gap continuing to grow, you have to wonder if Neller just doesn't have enough for the Audi RS3 LMS up the road with Michael Avdoka. And in fact, now being pressured as well by Ross McFarlane just in behind, trying to make a look for 3rd place. I was just talking about how Audi didn't have a whole lot of representation within the top 10 in race 1. Well, now there's one leading race number 2. So really making me eat my words here in the second of 3 races on the night. Does McFarlane dare to try a move up into Copse? And McFarlane deciding to take the very smart move to back out, but caught off guard a little bit by the Honda's earlier braking point, and that almost unsettled McFarlane, caused him to miss out on the apex of Copse just slightly. Right side of the screen, right on board with Alex Neller, currently running through the Maggots and Beckett's complex, and this is where it gets tight. You can see how much McFarlane just reels him in on the braking zones. He's going to have to send one up the inside, I feel like, if he wants to get past him.
Hello to Father Simon Neller, Alex's father, watching, and well, your boy's doing a super job here as well as he goes to the defensive line there on the run down the hangar straight, and just cannot hold off the charging Ross McFarlane. But Alex Neller could do well here by just hooking into the back of that Hyundai Elantra NTCR of Ross McFarlane and try and drag up towards the race leader, Michael Avdoka. Now, of course, teammates, Pure Sims teammates, one in an Audi, Avdoka, and one in a Hyundai. So Ooh, will we see any kind of team orders there? I very much doubt it. But who knows? 1.7 seconds is the gap. So McFarlane has brought the gap down, Nolan, by 4/10 in a lap or so, and coming through traffic as well. So with 6 minutes to go, do you think has he got enough time?
We'll have to wait and see on that one. 6 minutes is not a whole lot of time to run down a second and a half, but Josh Thompson seemed to make it work, so we'll have to wait and see. Developing story, by the way, within the top 10. Daniel Rowbottom made a trip down to pit road. Not sure what for, but actually looking at it now, just drove straight through. So potential drive-through penalty for the 32 car. Sees him a long way down the running order now. So bad news for him as the battles continue to rage up in the top 10.
Yeah, I think that was Dan Rowbottom, yeah, just going for a drive-through penalty. So maybe perhaps given a penalty by race control or a accumulation of iRacing incident points. But so bad news for the Team Dynamics driver. He normally, as I say, drives a Honda in the British Touring Car Championship. Really had a proper standout season in 2021. Really broke through and answered a few critics as well, I think it must be said, and proved that he has very much deserves his place at the top table of touring car racing in the United Kingdom. 5 minutes to go then, and McFarlane now 1.3 seconds, 1.4, that's the gap. So it's just coming down slowly. Just a couple of laps to go now in this motor race, the second race of the World Touring Car Series, the opening round here at Silverstone, the home of British motorsport. We ride now with Corentin Guinez. You can hear the high-pitched shriek of the Hyundai, I'm going to keep doing that, the Hyundai Elantra TCR. You can see Josh Thompson right ahead there in the light blue and pink machine, trying to make a move on Fraser Smith. Fraser's a hard racer as well. He won't give it up in a hurry. Fraser, of course, works for the Market car auction company. And oh, here comes Thompson, and Smith does give him a little bit of room. And will Thompson be able to get the move done as well? And Smith, that's very clever racecraft from Fraser Smith, gives him almost a little bit of a dummy there. And Corentin Guinez says, I'll have you both. And there he goes. Now, who was that in front having an incident? We've got somebody spun around. Oh, dear.
Fifth place, getting dumped out of the battle for fifth by Carl Jensen, I believe, down the Hamilton straight. That is huge news for the Pure Sims crew, as one of their drivers that was in the top 5 now out of the top 5 and still trying to find a place to rejoin as this battle continues to rage on. As we'll take a look at the replay, and there you see, just getting turned by Jensen out of the final corner and noses it big time right into the pit wall. And at this point, what can you do except wait and watch as you lose all of these spots trying to find a place just to turn around?
Oh, what a shame there for Blackhall. So unlucky. And lucky not actually, but in one way lucky not to be collected by the drivers coming through. But that's kind of race done in this format. You've got to have the perfect run. 20 minutes is not a long time. But Guinez, the race winner in race 1, he's up to 8th position, and he's just very carefully picked his way through and played that little exchange absolutely perfectly to get past not only Fraser Smith but also Josh Thompson as well. Very clever, and that's what he's going to need to do to mount a successful championship challenge, is to maximise every single race. But Ash Sutton has done a super job as well, up to 6th from just inside the top 20 on the grid. I think 17th he started, 17th or 18th. So made a really good climb up the order, but now it's less than a second for McFarlane. And Nolan, I mean, how close does he need to get a slipstream from Evdoka?
Typically about 1 second is enough, but the slipstream will still be very, very marginal. If you want to get a very powerful slipstream, typically within 3/4 of a second is realistically where you need to be. That gap is starting to close. If we look at a replay of what happened near to Carl Jensen, this is actually another look at what happened on the front straightaway right there. There really is no excuse for that, is there?
Yeah, I think that's what we call full throttling somebody. Yeah, that's not going to look well when the stewards look over that one. I'm afraid. This is what you're dealing with, though. It's really hard racing where you're dealing with relatively underpowered cars. These are momentum cars, and you've got to try. You can't afford to lose momentum. It's so punishing. So yeah, that is one factor. But Carl Jansen now, well, might be about to get a little bit of a little bit of his own medicine possibly, because he's got Ash Sutton all over the back of him, and we know that Ash leaves no stone unturned in getting past somebody as well. He's right on the back of the 92 car as they head through entry, absolutely flat out in these cars all the way down towards Brooklands, past the British Racing Drivers Club. Oh, Sutton has a wee look. Oh, did he sell the dummy? Oh, and he's now just biff, bash, bosh onto the rear bumper of Janssen, just almost loosening him up a little bit. You've got to be careful not to accumulate too many incident points there. But Janssen says, I've seen that trick before.
And this is the last lap of this race as well, and just lap number 9 as it was up before. And look at the Pure Sims duo, 1-2, and now right up with each other for the win. Does McFarlane play spoiler to Michael Evdoka's victory here in second place as they throw their way through Maggots and Beckett's for the final time in race number 2, but certainly not for the final time on the day. McFarlane looking left, looking right. Once again, just like the Core 1-2 earlier, Peter, if he's going to try something, it has to be up in a stow.
Yep, here we go then, down the hangar straight underneath the Johnny Walker Bridge. Here comes Ross McFarlane then on his teammate Michael Evdoka, who's decided, I'm going to take the defensive line on the inside. Ross McFarlane said, I'm going to hang it around the outside, but if he can tough it out here, he'll have the inside for the club chicane. I think that's what he's thinking. He uses all of the track on the way out, and that's been enough. Here comes Ross McFarlane then. Can he get the move done on Evdoka? Evdoka tries to tough it out around the outside. Evdoka might have this, you know. Oh, McFarlane's going to go for the cutback on his teammate, but has Evdoka done enough? It's going to be a side-by-side drag. No, not quite. Evdoka hangs on. What a defense there from the 989. Evdoka leads his teammate home. Ross McFarlane in second place. Alex Neller in third. Ollie Peacock in fourth. Carl Janssen coming home in sixth. And Ash Sutton just pipping Carl Janssen at the line, with Guinez home in seventh. Oh, Nolan, the championship points are just going to be at this early stage. They're going to be mighty close.
And of course, we're going to be used to seeing a lot of flip-flopping in these first couple of events until we can get ourselves a little bit deeper into the series. I would say maybe halfway. That's honestly the earliest at which we can possibly peg realistically anybody for being able to have a realistic title defense, because at this point in time, we're still at the point where anything can go wrong. It's only going to take 2 seconds to send you from first place in points, potentially down to 30th or lower. But a Pure Sims 1-2 nonetheless, despite an amazing drive. It's interesting, we've had now the first 2 races, and both of them have been teams 1-2. First race was Core, second race Pure Sims. You have to wonder, will we get another 1-2 in the third and final race with another team?
Well, let's see. One for Core, one for Pure Sims. Now here comes the spinny wheel, thanks to our wonderful software engineer, Arjuna Kankapati. He does all of the witchcraft behind the scenes. I have no idea how he does it, but this is what he does. Is he spinning the wheel? Maybe. Is it going to be 18? I think it's going to be... So 18 is the order, which I think will be Rafal Drashaz in the 79 car will be your pole sitter. So... let's run through the results then for race number 2 of 3. Michael Evdoka, your winner. What a defence from the Pure Sims Audi driver to hold out Ross McFarlane. Alex Neller was the win in the AM class and an overall podium. I'm sure Father Simon will be very happy with that one. Ollie Peacock was right behind in 4th overall and 2nd in class. Ash Sutton pips Carl Janssen by just 23 thousandths of a second to the line. Corentin Guina is a great drive to 7th. Mikel Garcia in 8th. Fraser Smith in 9th. And Josh Thompson rounds out the top 10. Michael Polachek was 11th, followed by Mark Fletcher, Craig Williams, Jamie Rushworth, Wojciech Suidovic, David Baker, Jaroslaw Kibula, Rafael Dressaz, Andy Scheel, and Bruno Carnero rounds out the top 20. Good recovery from Bruno after that early incident in race 1. Danny Lee was 21st, followed by Ashley Beard, Dan Rowbottom, Dean Powell, Ben Gregory, Dan Murray, Elliot Roberts, Matt Bunn, Simon Field, and Dan Robbins rounds out the top 30. Oscar Mangan was 31st, a little bit out of position for him. John Roberts in 32nd, followed by James Corp, Daniele Guidici, Jake Blackhall, Robert Lundgren, and Kieran Harrison back in 37th. Paul Smith behind him in 38th, Neil Butler 39th, and Adam Hedgecock rounding out the top 40. A number of these drivers, the walking wounded after the early incident. Darren Docherty, Paul King, Lee Berridge, Jack Sedgwick, Tom Dadswell, Dan Holland, and Dan Camish. Some big names in that bottom 10 or so, Nolan.
I think the biggest name in there is Jake Blackhall, race 2 pole sitter, and was up in the top 5 the entire race, except for that final 3 laps when he got turned on the front straightaway. Once again, it just goes to show just how far you can fall when you're in a series like this, because obviously when you're spun out of the place like that, you have to wait until the track is clear to rejoin, because it's not as easy as with a rear-wheel drive car where you can just, flip around and do a quick 180 on the spot, you'll be good to go. You have to take a bit of a wider arc because they are front-wheel drive cars, and the fact that he was stopped right there meant that just from that, falling from the top 5 to the bottom 10, it has to hurt when you know you're losing so many points, and all you can do is just sit there and watch them slip away from you.
Well, I think actually we might be able to get a little bit of a chat with one of our drivers, Nolan. Our very own Paul Smith is in our interview waiting area, and I think we've got just enough time to have a chat to Paul if we can get him in for a chat with us. He's the man who's got all the passes and all the permissions for these sorts of things. So we'll see if we can get a chat with Paul for you. Paul, you're here in the RaceSpotTV commentary box. You got a copy?
Yes.
Oh dear.
That sums up that lap one.
Suboptimal, was that what that
yes.
underneath that bleep? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, from the driver's seat, give us an impression of what happened, because to be honest, it was such a melee. Nolan and I couldn't quite piece it together with the replay. Tell us what happened.
So basically, start was fine, and then we came into the loop and it started getting a bit feisty. One of the boosted cars got hit, so that was checking everything up. Then I got bumped a bit. We were going 3 wide through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight, and a car just decided to go off into the runoff, flat out, and then came back on flat out into the side of me. And the car that followed him was a certain professional driver, I won't say who, because you can see on the broadcast, and he followed him and caused a separate accident behind as well. So I think people maybe need to read the rule book about rejoins and doing it safely.
Whoa, firm words here from Paul Smith. Now, Paul, tell us about these different cars. Of course, we've had the Audi RS3 for quite a while in the TCR category, and I know you are Mr. TCR. You love these front-wheel drive touring cars. What have the Hyundai Elantra and the Honda Civic brought to the game, and how do they differ?
I said this on a Friday primetime broadcast, actually. I think that the Hyundai and the Honda have really reinvigorated the TCR scene in iRacing. And the Honda's really nippy. It's a really good chassis car. Not quite got the grunt out of the corners, but is really good in the twisty stuff. The Hyundai, it's quite a stable car as the Hyundai, and quite a forgiving car, I would say, out of the 3. So with it being a longer wheelbase, it really is a good sort of all-round car, maybe not suited to the tight and twisty tracks. And then the Audi is just, well, it's a tank, isn't it? It's the Audi. It does pretty much everything. It's got really good grunt. It understeers a bit more, though, does the Audi. So you've really got to be careful with the power. So yeah, it's a good mix. I think iRacing have done a very good balance of performance adjustment between the 3 cars, and I think different tracks you'll see different cars suiting the tracks.
I have to say, Paul, I'm finding it very difficult to say Dan Rowbottom in a Team Dynamics Hyundai, when of course he's in a Team Dynamics Honda in the real world. I've done it once already. I'm sure I'll do it many times. Targets for race 3, Paul, before we let you go.
My targets for race 3 is to get through lap 1 clean. I tell you what, race 1, even though I binned it in qualifying and started from the back of the grid, I gained 8 positions on lap 1 in race 1. So I'm hoping to get a good start here, avoid any shenanigans, and then just try and gain as many positions as I can, because unfortunately Tyler isn't available this and I believe next week. So I'm going alone in the Team Mad car. So I've just got to get as many points as possible for myself and for the team.
Of course, but Tyler is otherwise engaged next week racing an actual Hyundai Elantra TCR at Daytona, so we can all cheer him on too.
And I'm going to tell you off, Peter, because Tyler wouldn't forgive me. It's Hyundai.
I know. He's already told me
Sunday.
off, and I've messed it up. I'm in double figures already. Honestly, I'm in double figures. Paul, we'll let you go. Good luck in race 3. Get those elbows out, and flat cap fully pointed forward.
Yeah, I'll have the flat cap DRS sorted. It'll be fine.
Excellent. Good luck, buddy.
Thank you.
That was Paul Smith for Team Mad in the Hyundai Elantra N TCR, despite a difficult race too, Nolan, in good spirits.
And that's what you like to see, right? I mean, even if you have a bad race in the touring car field, a lot of drivers, they don't tend to hold too many grudges like that. They tend to just, shrug it off, move on to the next one, because they understand rubbing at the end of the day is racing. And usually that's something you more hear, on my side of the pond, right? On the oval side of things, especially when it comes to short track racing, late model, street stocks, what have you. But honestly, when you take a look at things and just look at road racing as a whole, touring car racing is the discipline on the road, where Rubbin's racing, I think it just defines the series as a whole.
It does, yes. It's certainly what touring car fans here in the UK almost expect and not hope for, but maybe just up to the edge, but not quite. Is always what we like to see. So we will have the third race for you in a very short moment here on RaceSpotTV. It's Peter Mackay and Nolan Rempo bringing you the action of round 1 of the World Touring Car Series, a brand new championship here as well. Of course, it won't be long before we have the World GT Championship coming to RaceSpot. That's a Monday night broadcast, so we've got Mondays and Thursdays. Here is World Sim Racing night. Again, huge thank you to Free M for their continued support of both the World GT Championship and the World Touring Car Series, and Craig's setup shop as well. And I have to say, Nolan, I was having a little look on the in preparation of this broadcast. I was having a little look on the Free M website of all the jazzy gear. Some of the gloves with the pattern on them, with the grip. It just, I mean, God knows what it does, but it looks cool.
I have a feeling what that will probably do is just allow you to get a bit of an extra hold on your wheel, right? And you mentioned as well that there is, the gloves as well that have like those little openings, so you are able to, send your text messages if you happen to be waiting, or you could be requested a tow if you're stuck on the side of the racetrack, so you run out of fuel, like I did a couple of nights ago. But it is some rather great equipment that they do have over there. So I would recommend. I mean, go check them out. I mean, you never quite know what might be the right fit for you. The only way to figure that out is, well, take a look and see.
Absolutely, and they even do custom as well. So if you want to really show off at your local go-kart track or local track day, they could even get your name on it there, just on the waistband as well. So it could be like Peter Mackay with a little Saltire flag, and maybe your blood type as well, just in case. But yeah, give the folks at Free M a shout, and also Craig's setup shop as well. It's Daytona 24-hour week here in the iRacing world, and everybody's just fine-tuning their setups. But if you've hit a bit of a brick wall, go onto Craig's setup shop. There'll be a setup there for all the cars taking part, and save yourself the time in the aggro, and you'll feel like you're just a new driver with a Craig's setup shop. Machine, perfect timing. Honda Civic Type R. Look at that, corners nice and flat, nice and steady, and that's exactly what you'll get with a Craig's setup shop setup. So, just a quick warm-up session now, and we'll be into action. Remember, it's an 18-car reverse grid, so those who won the race, Ross McFarlane, my apologies, Michael Avdoka, our race winner in race 2, he will start from 18th, Ross McFarlane from 17th, but this is where we might see our first double winner of the night, Nolan, because of course Cornton Guinness, he will start from just outside the top dozen or so, which does give him a real possibility of hunting down a win.
I think it really depends on how aggressive the drivers are going to be up front when it comes to defending those positions, because we saw that, you know, some of those TCRs that were up there in the top 5, they were defending like lions to keep the guys that had finished, you know, previously in the top 5 behind them, and for the most part actually managed to keep them at bay, which really not just goes to show how aggressive these drivers can be, but also how evenly matched a lot of them are on these TCRs. I mean, but oftentimes when you look at qualifying, I mean, it's down to the smallest of margins. And I was even looking at this, you know, earlier tonight, but it was like it was something along the lines of the top 38 were separated in qualifying by just over 2 seconds, which over the course of 47 drivers to have 38 that close together is absolutely insane.
Hello to Ryan Parkins and Ryan Walker in our YouTube chat here on RaceSpotTV. Ryan Parkins has asked, how much is the Chinese marital bed? Now, for those of you wondering what on earth that is, if you've been watching us on our cameras, of course, Nolan, you're ever the professional with your shirt and tie. Very smart indeed. Behind me in my spare room, we have, yes, it is a Chinese marital bed. It's over 200 years old, but it's not for sale, and it's insured for quite a lot more than Ryan Walker is offering, which is just £1. But Nolan, as you'll know, us in Scotland, we're not the most generous types in the world, so we like to keep our pennies close.
I can't say I don't understand the feeling, so to speak. I've been in situations like that before, but it is, I mean, overall, it is nice though to sometimes, you know, engage with people on the sort of thing. You know, have these little banterous discussions, right? It helps to kind of pass the time by while waiting for drivers to wrap up their practice, and get some pretty good yucks out of it as well.
We do. That's what we like to see. If you can't smile, then what's the point? That's what it's all about. So
Absolutely.
Nearly the end of this practice session, and we'll be ready to go for another 20 minutes hot dash here at Silverstone, and this is how they line up for the third and final race of this evening's action here at Silverstone, the home of British motorsport. 18-car reverse grid, so another mix-up jumble here for this third and final 20-minute sprint. 9 laps the distance here, and it will be Rafael Dressage who will start from pole alongside Jaroslav Kubula. David Baker and Wojciech Sawiedovic will start on row 2. Row 3 will be Jamie Washworth and Craig Williams. Mark Fletcher and Michael Polasek will start on row 4. Josh Thompson and Fraser Smith on row 5. Quick row there on row 5. Likewise, row 6, Mikael Garcia and race 1 winner, Corentin Guinness. Carl Jansen and Ash Sutton will start on row 7 with Ollie Peacock and Alex Neller on row 8. Ross McFarlane and Michael Avdoka start on row 9. Running out the top 20s, Andy Scheel and Bruno Carnero, with Danny Lee starting 21st, followed by Ashley Beard, Dan Rowbottom and Dean Powell. Ben Gregory and Dan Murray will start on row 13, followed by Elliot Roberts, Matt Bunn, Simon Field and Dan Robbins. Then it's Oscar Mangan, John Roberts, James Corp, Daniele Guidici, Jake Blackhall and Robert Lundgren are your first 36. They're lined up, they're ready to go. The revs will begin to rise, and off they go. We're racing for the final time here at Silverstone in the World Touring Car Series. Down towards turn 1 they go. Not so easy to get these front-wheel drive machines off the line clean, but so far the leading group get away.
Oh,
it's Jaroslav Kubula who's leading, but it's a complete, oh my goodness me, it's a bowling pins at turn 1, and there was at least 2 full send cars in there, Nolan.
Might have even been 3. A tremendous accident before we even got to the first corner. And all of this while the leaders seem to have gotten away more or less cleanly. So once again, all of the struggles coming from the back portion of the field. And look at that, fanning out, oh, one onto the grass and way in behind. Who the heck was that? That just got it all sorts of wrong down the Wellington straight. That was Carl Jensen. That's a very rare mistake to see, as he's now going to put himself side by side with one of the Pearson's drivers, Ashley Sutton, coming around through Brooklands and Lovefield, as the top few drivers once again have gotten away clean. More drivers doing some rallycross racing further behind. Peacock had gone off just in the back portion of the field. Complete pandemonium in the opening lap.
Good start from David Baker there in second position in the number 6 car, repping the number 6, of course run by Rory Butcher in the British Touring Car Championship. And he is right there in behind Jaroslav Kubula. Wojciech Sawiedovic has got up the third. Rafael Dressage on a difficult start for him. He's back to 4th after starting on pole position. So it's a Hyundai Elantra 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment. And the first of the Audis is Jamie Rushworth, who's had a super day at the office. There he is in that white Audi there. But Luke is on the move. Josh Thompson up to 7th, and now he's going to make a move on the Honda Civic of Craig Williams. There he goes. Makes it look easy, does the Manxman. But Craig Williams says, oh, you think so? He hooks it all the way around the outside. Brilliant racecraft there from Craig Williams of Craig Setup Shop fame. You can see his wonderful face there and the Craig Setup Shop logo on the top right hand side of your screen, but he's too busy to think about that at the moment. He is surrounded by top level touring car drivers as they come round to complete the opening lap. It is Jaroslav Kapula and David Baker 1-2 with Wojciech Sawidovic there in 3rd.
Complete chaos on the opening lap, and still trying to dice it out for spots just inside the top 5. Williams trying to keep Josh Thompson at bay. We'll take a look at the replay of what happened on the opening lap. They were already scrapping before they even got fully off of the grid. One guy hit the grass just in behind, and right there, contact in the mid-pack sent cars hard at the pit wall, and I'm not sure who it was that just got cleaned out. I think it was the number 16 car, though, that got sent into the turn 1 gravel. That is so unfortunate for a lot of those drivers. But now, side by side for the race lead as David Baker makes the lunge for the Pearson's driver, and he's up now into the lead of the race.
David Baker hits the front then in number 6 car. That was that car that we saw there getting cleaned out the course and racing machine. Poor old Kieran Harrison. 2 disastrous races in race 2 and 3. And after a clean run to 2nd position in race 1, it's just not been his day at all after then. And oh, poor old Paul Smith as well, sitting in the pit lane with damage. And oh, it's not been a good day to start the World Touring Car Series for our very own Paul Smith. Smiler Bull himself, pop onto his Twitch stream, Smiler Bull on Twitch. Go and give him a virtual hug, because I'm sure he'll be a bit down after this. We know he loves his touring car racing, but it's David Baker at the front from Wojciech Sawidovic, a multiple champion in BSR-TC racing, and he's on the charge with Jaroslav Kapula right behind there in the draft. They've got a little bit of a gap back to Jamie Rushworth. And I tell you what, Nolan, what a revelation Jamie Rushworth in that number 3 Audi has been. He has pulverised the competition in the AM class.
You see even more side-by-side racing looking to go 3 abreast up into Stowe. That is all the battle for about 22nd on back as Benjamin Gregory happens to defend against Danny Lee. A couple of more Audis, I believe, in the mix of this as well. Are they going to go 3 wide into the club chicane? Going to think better of it. Oscar Mangan in the midst of this. You also got Dean Powell in here, Ollie Peacock, Elliott Roberts, Simon Field, all in the mix. Swinging out really wide was Peacock through the final corner. And they are showing no signs of letting up in this fierce battle just to get into the top half of the field.
Oh no, our pole setter Rafael Drachaz has had to go for a drive-through. I wonder if that's maybe for a jump start, possibly. Ah, what a pity after such a promising beginning. But David Baker is in the lead, but it's Sawidovic who's on the move in that white, orange and black Hyundai TCR. Down towards Brooklands they go. Good opportunity for a dive on the brakes. Is Wojciech Sawidovic going to have a go? Not quite. But look at this start from Corentin Guinness. It's been a dream start to this World Touring Car Series for the young Frenchman. He's like the Laurent Aiello of iRacing. If that's a late 90s British touring car reference. For those, he was quite good, was Laurent Aiello. It's about the highest compliment you could give to a touring car driver, and Corentin Guinness is just relentless with his pace at the moment. Up into 6th already. He's got a little bit of a gap to bridge to Josh Thompson, who's made a super start as well. But at the moment, Nolan, Corentin Guinness is looking good to call good points in all 3 races.
Be the best possible start for his championship as the battle for 21st rages on. Danny Lee still side by side with Matt Bunn all the way through Copse and now into Maggots and Beckett's, with Oscar Mangan still pressuring just behind in his number 99 machine. But he has such a good run in the first race as well, just trying to fight to stay in the top half of this field. Danny Lee in the Turn Motorsports machine, I think is going to have to fall a little bit further back here. He's also got teammate Dean Powell with him. You can see Jack Sedgwick also in the mix in his Craig setup shop, Honda Civic Type R. And Powell, got to think about linking up with his teammate here. That's a lunge from Oscar Mansion off the inside of Stowe as Matt Bunn checks up the field and sweeps for the over-under on Mansion coming around out through Stowe and down for the club chicane. 2 by 2, 3 rows deep down, 3 wide in the chicane, and they all sandwich right at the apex. One car goes screaming off into the grass behind them and into the pit lane as well. That was Daniel Rowbottom. That got sent flying off the track and then still beating and banging out of the final corner down the Lewis Hamilton straight.
Oh, wow. Oh, how do you keep up with it? This is touring car racing at the best. You need eyes on the back of your head, the side of your head, the front as well will do. Oh, you've already got those. Okay. Well, you're going to need them. This is what it's like in the heat of the battle there. An onboard shot with cars all over the shop as the two Turn Motorsport Hyundais right in the heat of the battle, along with the Craig setup shop Honda Civic Type R. There's the Full Send Racing Honda Civic as well. Oh my, proper stuff. David Baker leads by 0.3 of a second from Wojciech Sawidovic, who took a 10th out of Baker last time by Cibula. Jaroslav Cibula is not too far back. He's just 0.6 back from the lead. But Josh Thompson, he is the man on the move. A 2.14.0 last time by from the mighty Manxman. Josh the Bosch Thompson is the man on the move in 4th place right now. Could we see a win for the 51 car?
Quite possibly, but at the moment, the battles up there are not nearly as intense as the ones, and not as physical, I should say, as the ones back here. Tom Dadswell has lost quite a bit of time this lap, and there you look up to your battle for the race on the right-hand side, the battle for 30th on the left, really showing just how fierce the battles are up and down all throughout the grid. The draft continuing to close between Swiatovich as well as Baker on the right-hand side. No move being made up into Stowe for the 4th time today. In the battle for 30th, though, I can almost guarantee you there's most certainly going to be spots or moves being made in these little battles as drivers continue to try to get themselves sorted, and nobody's going to want to sort themselves out that deep in the field until the very last second, as looks like Dan Cavish has gone through on Paul King, and Daniel Giudici all mixed into this as well. Baker now having to defend a little bit as Swiatovich tries to have a bit of a look on the inside and then won.
Yeah, Ash Sutton has just had this a battle for 30th. Ash Sutton's teammate Dan Camish in there trying to make his way forward, but Ash Sutton had a difficult start of the race. He's down in 14th place. Couldn't have nerfed a little bit back the way as the battle for 6 rages on between Corentin Guinez and the Audi of Jamie Rushworth, and Jamie playing that one very clever. Corentin's not in his battle, of course. They're in 2 different classes. Rushworth in the AM class, Guinez in the Pro class. So Guinez goes through it into 5th spot now, just 2.8 seconds back, and we're only at the halfway point, so sky is the limit here for Corentin Guinez, the young Frenchman. Still Baker who leads, and Svidovic in the number 80 car just biding his time, waiting for the ideal moment, trying to just keep Baker under the vice, keep him under pressure, and wait for his opportunity, and of course try and stretch the pack out a little bit as well, but won't be able to do that forever because Josh Thompson is now on the scene as well. As there he is, just at the back of shot in that pink front to his Hyundai Elantra TCR. Looking back on the boot lid from David Baker's machine, back to Wojciech Sawidovic. Absolute ace in this type of car, a real specialist in the touring car. And of course, Nolan, the driving style required for these front-wheel drive machines is so different to, say, a GT car or even a single-seater.
Oh, absolutely. For one thing, you can't, stamp on the throttle nearly as much because that is going to generate a whole lot of wheel spin. And on the front-wheel drive car, wheel spin, unlike in a GT car, which means you go backwards facing forwards, that just means the front end doesn't turn at all. And you realistically have to kind of almost feather it all the way up until you're in the 3rd, 4th gears. That's where you can really probably put the hammer down, which is why we can sometimes see drivers so cautious right on corner exits, especially in corners that have a lot of very large curbs, like the club chicane, for example. It's so easy to get stuck on those curbs in touring cars like these. on board with two different drivers. Swiatovich on the right side of the screen on board from his cockpit camera, with David Baker looking back over his rear wing down towards second place and behind with your race leader. And the top four all under a blanket. I'm going to keep one eye on Josh Thompson here, right? Because he finished in the podium positions for race one, could not pull out a race win. He's going to be looking to change all of that, though, with 8 minutes to go in race three.
Great look here at the perfectly mapped, perfectly scanned dashboard of the Hyundai Elantra TCR there, with the graphics just perfectly replicated from the real world car. These machines are laser scanned by the iRacing software development team, and therefore are absolutely accurate replicas in the virtual world of their real world counterparts. Just fantastic to see this level of realism. And remember, we've got drivers competing here from all over the world, all in real time, all live here on RaceSpotTV. What a joy that is. Virtual motorsport continues to move forward, and this is first class motorsport whichever way you look at it. 7.5 minutes to go, and David Baker is trying to hold off Wojciech Swiatovich, who's just showing his nose now, thinking, is there a wee look there down into Maggots and Beckett's? No, not quite. Not yet. Baker is holding the pressure very, very well, but there is a little bit of a queue forming up behind him. Cibula in there in third, and Josh Thompson as well has closed it right down. He's now very much the last carriage in this locomotive.
Will there be a move into the lead, into Stowe, this time by Swiatovich thinking about the look, does look to the left-hand side. Baker on defense, up into Stowe. The 80 car trying to fight the long way around and looking to see if he can get muscled out and just get past the 6 car. You'll have the inside line for Club. They almost touch on the braking zone, and Baker fighting the long way around. Here comes Thompson looking up for the third position. Contact between the top two sends Swiatovich wide. That allows Baker to get clear and boxes in Thompson, who has nowhere to go. And look at one, Kabula stuck on the inside line as Thompson promotes himself to P3.
Wow, brilliant stuff there as well. Just a tiny rubber contact there, and that was just enough to run Swiatovich just that tiny bit wide. That allowed Thompson actually to get through on Kabula. It was Kabula who came off worst actually, and now Guinness is coming in for the fun. All that battling has just brought Guinness into this top 5 fight now as well. So Guinness really the benefactor there, but Baker still hangs on. He's now got a 0.6 of a second advantage. What's that in real money? A couple of car lengths. Will that close back up again with 5 minutes to go? And can Thompson and Guinness, can they feature in this battle for the ace? They're right there. And just fantastic stuff here. Very equal machines. Top level drivers fighting around this fantastic circuit where there is opportunity to make overtaking maneuvers. Just where will the drivers choose to make that as well? But David Baker, you have to say, Nolan, has been, well, I tell you what, he must be wearing his 3M protective gear, because he's keeping cool under pressure here.
And all of this while we come up towards the final quarter of the final race on the day. And I tell you what, this sprint event here today has just been an absolute thriller. 3 20-minute races of non-stop action from lights to flag, and that is looking to continue all the way down as we enter the final 5 minutes or so. Estimated 2 laps left to go on the clock. Now, if the last 2 races are anything to go by, we will be having a 9-lap race for us tonight. They're rounding lap 7 now, so I think 2 laps to go this time by is a rather safe estimate with under 5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, we've seen 9 laps in both of the first 2 races, so no reason why this wouldn't be any different. The pace has been just as hot at the front of the field and all the way back in the field. The battle for 27th, just as fierce. Dean Powell battling with Dan Camish's. Look at Camish there on the right hand side of your screen in the blue Napa Hyundai. Comes to try and take the move down into Stowe, all the way around the outside of Powell. Can he get the move done? There it is. Book it. Fantastic move there from Dan Camish. It's been a difficult first night in the World Touring Car Series for Dan, but we know he's a very quick learner. We've seen him adapt to lots of different types of cars, from Porsche Super Cup cars to touring cars, back to the Porsche Carrera Cup car, and now here in this Hyundai TCR. David Baker still leads them, but Savinovic has closed the gap right back down again. And Thompson right in there, Guinness in there, and unfortunately for the number 39 of Yaroslav Kabula, just losing a little bit of touch here as well. Savinovic going to try and make the move down into Brooklands. Not quite. Not quite. Backs out of it as well, but Baker still resisting the pressure.
Certainly thought about it and I think tried to have a look, but the last cover at the last moment from David Baker is what kept him at bay, and that has allowed Baker a little bit of breathing room. But don't forget how powerful that draft can be in these touring cars. With not a lot of horsepower under these machines, the draft game is, of course, the main game when it comes to tracks with longer straights and even faster corners like that of the Silverstone circuit. So coming on up through Maggots and Beckett's, I believe we'll be potentially starting the final lap this next time by. Look at how much of the curb and even the sausage curb that Swirutovic takes, trying to just close in as much as he possibly can on David Baker up the road, and almost losing a little bit of time to the Pearson's driver up in the race lead. Josh Thompson still waiting in the wings as well, with the top four all under a blanket, and Kabula still thinking about trying to have a look himself. Now, is Swirutovic close enough to have a look for the lead into Stowe this time by? Looks for the inside, trying to send it on the inside, but just not close enough to make the move stick.
Oh, he thought about it there, didn't he, Wojciech Swirutovic, but David Baker was just too good on the brakes. Here comes Swirutovic again. Is he going to send it? That would be very late. No. Baker is so good on the brakes, and that is what keeping him at the front of this motor race right now. He's just not giving Savinovic the opportunity to make that lunge on the brakes. But Savinovic is right there. Here he comes. What did Christian Horner say? No, you can't overtake there, apparently. But decides better of it as they head through into the opening section once again. And this is where there's opportunity, and Swirutovic looks to the inside again. Nope, still nothing there. Baker placing a car is exactly where it wants, and he leaves the door wide open. Swirutovic says thank you very much, puts the door on the inside, and Baker, you have to say, Nolan, gave him that. Oh, just handed him that on a plate.
It's not over yet, though. I think, you know what? I think Baker might set him up here, because don't forget, he's going to have the drafting advantage all the way down the hangar straight up into Stowe. We've seen it before. If you can make this pass work up into Stowe, it is very much a difficult task to make the overtake back into into the club chicane. But Swirutovic is going to have to make sure he pulls out as big of a gap as possible in order to keep David Baker behind, and that's not going to help as he clips the gravel on the exit of Luffield. So through Woodco, that number 80 car starting to make a few more mistakes. 45 seconds left on the clock, what could be the last lap on tonight's event. David Baker closing it even more all the way through Cops. He's just got to stick at exactly this distance all the way through Maggots and Beckett's, and he will surely be able to try to pass him back up into Stowe. So through Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel for the final time today. And does Baker have what it takes to pass Swirutovic back for the race lead?
I think David Baker will be fuming himself there. You could tell he was just trying to trust his braking and trust that he was good enough on the brakes to get the run out of towards Aintree down the Wellington straight, but he didn't. So Swirutovic took the opportunity, sat himself on the inside and got the move done. And Baker, oh, not this time as well. It's going to come down to the final chicane, the club chicane. What has David Baker got left? He's led most of this race, but Savinovic looking so good here as well. David Baker is just too far back. Looks like two more corners then. Is it going to be Wojciech Savinovic? It is. The number 80, Wojciech Savinovic, wins in the World Touring Car Series here at Silverstone. And look at the gaggle behind as well as Josh Thompson going to try and hang on to the podium. Queenez nearly pips him with the fastest lap of the race. Queenez home in fourth, Sabula in fifth. And another super drive winner in the AM class again for Jamie Rushworth. Brilliant, brilliant stuff.
Oh, man.
Wowee.
What a race.
Oh, Savinovic waited for his moment there. That was super racecraft from the Polish driver. That's why he's a multiple iRacing touring car champion. And, well, he just waited for his opportunity. And you have to say, Nolan, oh, David Baker did give him that opportunity, and Wojciech did not need a second invitation.
He saw the hole and he took it, and that's exactly what you have to do in racing like this, right? You see the hole and you cannot afford to wait around, because who knows when that hole will come around again. Did what he had to do though, and took that solid race win tonight, and breaking the 1-2 team streak as well on the night, as he is our first driver that doesn't have a teammate finishing it up right behind him.
Well. If you enjoyed that, we have plenty more of it here with a whole season ahead of us in the World Touring Car Series. An invigorated TCR category here in the iRacing platform with 2 new models, the Hyundai and the Honda, to join the Audi, have given us some super racing with a star cast of drivers. Wojciech Savidovic is your winner here in race 3, with David Baker coming home in second, Josh Thompson on the podium for Knight Rider Motorsports. Quentin Guinez finished in 4th, a brilliant night at the office for the Frenchman. Yaroslav Kubula was 5th, followed by our AM-Class driver, and I'll say it, my man of the match for the night, AM-Class winner Jamie Rushworth, and 6th overall. Fantastic. Craig Williams was 7th, followed by Michael Avdoka, Alex Neller, and Michael Polishek rounds out the top 10. Ash Sutton fought his way back to 11th with Carl Janssen 12th, Fraser Smith in 13th, Ross McFarlane in 14th, and Bruno Carnero rounds out the top 15. And Andy Shield, Jack Cedric, Oscar Mangan, Mikkel Garcia, and Ben Gregory make up your top 20. Danny Lee in 21st for the Turn Racing Hyundai machine. Ollie Peacock was 22nd, followed by Elliot Roberts, Jake Blackhall, Tom Dadswell, Dan Camish, Neil Butler, Matt Bunn, Dan Rowbottom, and Simon Field round out the top 30. Paul King was 31st, followed by James Corp, Dan Robbins, Mark Fletcher, Daniele Guidici, Dean Powell, John Roberts, Rafael Drisach, Robert Lundgren, and Darren Docherty round out the top 40. And last few, Adam Hedgecock, Ashley Beard, Kieran Harrison, Paul Smith, Dan Murray, Lee Berridge, and Dan Holland round out your 47 cars. Not a good night for Kieran Harrison after such a good start. 2nd place in race 1, and incidents taking out the Corsim Racing driver in race 2 and race 3. Well, Nolan, that was quite a dramatic start to the World Touring Car Series. Your thoughts after that first round of the season?
I have to say, very, very impressed with the excellent showing that we saw here tonight. I mean, non-stop action. Every single race, from the second the lights went out all the way down to the checkered flag in each and every one. And that was just, of course, a taste of what we're going to be able to get, because that was in the sprint events. The races go on even longer in the feature events, in which case you have mandatory pit stops as well. So who knows what those races are going to look like? We have this one of no clue, but I think it's safe to say, at least for these sprint races, we know we are going to be in for a solid, thrilling performance with every single one of them.
That we are, and we'll have all the action for you here on RaceSpotTV. We have action for the next 2 Thursday evenings here on the channel, and this is your schedule. We've got one in the books, Silverstone. In 7 days time we go to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, Montmello, another proper Grand Prix circuit, and then 2 weeks time we go to Brands Hatch, a circuit that many of our drivers in the field know well from the virtual world and from the outdoor world as well. Interlagos in Brazil will take us there for the 4th round on the 17th of February, followed by Donington Park and the Red Bull Ring. Barber Motorsports Park, a relatively unknown circuit in international circles, but an absolute gem. If you've never seen it before, tune in on the 17th of March. It's a super circuit. Speaking of super circuits, well, does it get better than Super Sebring? Whoa, arguable. Hungaroring will be round 9, followed by Mid-Ohio, Silverstone National, and what a way to finish the Daytona Road Course. That will be draft, and it will be a real cracker. Now, we have some of our protagonists in to join us for an interview, and I believe Josh Thompson is going to be down with Nolan Rempel.
Indeed he is. And Josh, what an unbelievable night for you. You took yourself 2 podiums in 2 of the 3 races tonight. That has got to feel good, with, I believe it was a top 10 in the second race as well. So great points there for you overall.
Yeah, coming into it, I wouldn't have even expected those results, to be honest. Struggled a little bit in the warm-up before the race. Managed to get the car pretty much hooked up in qualifying, as you saw. So yeah, take up 2 podiums, and then the P10 in race 2, which didn't feel like the best race. I made a few mistakes my end, just with like overtaking and traffic management and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, can't really complain. It's a nice way to start the season. It's better than starting a bit lower down with like no points, having to work your way back up.
So talk to us about the series as a whole so far. I mean, obviously, it's the first ever race in the event, and you found yourself with a very good performance. Do you think this bodes well for your championship hopes potentially going forward?
I hope so. Obviously, last time there was any sort of touring car championship was about a year and a bit ago, which was LTC. I got to the showdown last year. I did, and to be honest, like, it's all about consistency. You don't need to win every race on raw pace. As long as you're thereabouts every week, just finishing all 3 races in the top 10 gives you a nice buffer. So fingers crossed, just keep this going. That's the aim. I don't think I'll have the pace the core guys on one lap in qualifying, for example, but the reverse grids kind of help you out a little bit.
Well, I can tell you right now that a double top 3 so far in this opening round is certainly going to help things, and you look forward to the next race at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. It was, of course, the historic layout, but another 3 races get set to go there. Very, very different circuit in comparison to Silverstone. What do you think we can expect from you coming over into Spain?
More qualifying pace, hopefully. Obviously, I can't really complain. I was like top 5 in qualifying, but obviously Barcelona is a way more difficult track to overtake on. I think lap 1's going to be a bit more chaotic than here, because obviously around here you could still overtake throughout the race. I think with Catalunya, it's really tight in the infield part of the lap. There's going to be a lot of single file, so qualifying and lap 1, just placing your car in the right places is going to be a main key to success next week.
Well, thank you, Josh, for taking the time to join us here tonight. Congratulations on a solid performance here from Silverstone, and wishing you all the best of luck in Spain in 1 week.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
So that was Josh Thompson after a pretty solid night at the office. And we do have our Race 2 winner, Michael Evdoka, here for a chat as well. Michael, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box. Your Race 2 performance, that Race 2 defence, fantastic stuff. Tell us about your emotions in the cockpit at that point.
Yeah, hi guys. It was rather funny actually, because obviously, as you know, me and Ross are teammates, and I knew Ross had a lot more pace than me, and I just kept on shouting at him saying, "No, Ross, please leave me alone." But no, it was good fun. A nice little battle there at the end as well. We had plenty of time behind us, and yeah, it was all nice and clean, which in all honesty tonight has been fantastic. The driving's been absolutely awesome. It's great to be back in these touring cars.
It is, and it's fantastic to see the class invigorated with the Honda and the Hyundai as well. But I tell you what, that little Audi, that old Audi, it's still a proper wagon, isn't it? It's still a quick car. I mean, tell us about your choice of car. Did you decide to err on the side of experience, or what was the reasoning behind choosing the Audi over the 2 new shiny things?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons, in all honesty, is I know the Audi quite well from obviously previous series, and it's obviously been on the service for a lot longer, and I was going to go the other way like other people have, and I sort of made a last minute decision to change and go back to the Audi. It is a wily old beast, and it's still here, it's still strong. So this track wasn't its favourite place to be, but I'm pretty sure there's a few tracks where it's going to be very strong compared to the other cars, which is actually really good. The BOP, it's not just one car's the quickest, they're all very good at different tracks. So we will see the Audis at the front at one track and the Hondas at the front and other tracks. And as you saw here, like, this was a bit of a Hyundai track, but we moved forward. It was a great night racing, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
And finally, Michael, we've got a great season ahead of us, some fantastic circuits. Your thoughts heading into the rest of the season, and what your personal goals are to get out of this, because it started very well.
Basically, my personal goals are just to have fun, really. I really missed these touring cars races, and it's nice, like you say, to have a new lease of life with the new cars, and Yeah, just to have fun. If we can pull something out of the bag and maybe get the teams, and if I can help Ross towards that Drivers' Championship, then yeah, that's what I'll do. But yeah, just to have fun mainly.
Well, I'm sure you will. Michael, first of all, thanks so much for coming in to have a chat with us. Well done on that super race 2 win, and have fun for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. I think I might go and have a celebratory drink. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers for this podcast.
Very wise, very wise. That was Michael Avdoka, race 2 winner for Pure Sims Audi. Now, Nolan, I think we've got time for one more chat. I'll hand you down to Full Send Racing's Fraser Smith.
And Fraser Smith does join me now in the broadcast booth. Now, for you, Fraser, very up and down day today for the Majors Garage Full Send Racing crew. Some guys had some more fortunes, some drivers didn't. You seem to be more on the up and up end of things, though, overall throughout the race.
It was good. I managed to stay out of trouble. I'd said before if I could get some top 10s, I'd be pretty happy. I think the Hyundai was quite well suited to this track, so it just sort of made the most of it in the Audi. But yeah, from my point of view, it was all clean. A few of my teammates had some rough races, but it's to be expected, I guess. Yeah, it was really good.
You mentioned that this track was more suited for the Hyundais, and we already discussed this earlier as well. But with the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya coming on up next, do you think that track might be a little bit more suited to the Audis, allowing you guys to fight back a bit more, potentially contending for top 10s in round 2?
Yeah, we think so. Especially, I think we're running the historic layout, so you lose the final chicane, which is like that'll be the worst part in the Audi, really. So fingers crossed. We'll see. None of my teammates are running in the Hyundai, so we'll maybe try and do a bit of practice, one of us in it, and just see how it all plays out. But fingers crossed. Main thing is staying out of trouble, really.
Staying out of trouble is the name of the game. You managed to do that beautifully throughout the course of the night, and hopefully you'll be able to do so the same for next week. Thank you for joining us, Fraser, and hopefully best of luck next week in Spain.
Thank you. Cheers to my mates at Full Sim Racing, Majors Garage, yourselves, and all of the organisers as well.
Well, Peter, that was Fraser Smith joining us up here, finishing overall P12 in race number 3. Like I said, up and down day for the Full Send Racing crew, but hopefully they'll have some better days, particularly for some of the drivers that got collected in some incidents next week.
Yeah, this is going to definitely be a season of ups and downs. It's that sort of frantic format, and as Josh Thompson said quite rightly, it's all about consistency winning this championship, not necessarily about one lap pace, and it's about racecraft as well. Well, we'll be back in a week's time, same time again, here on RaceSpotTV for round 2 of the World Touring Car Series, live from the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. On behalf of Nolan Renfrew and myself, Peter Mackay, thanks so much for watching, and good night.